Firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Whether we know, don't know, whether we see some signs, whether we don't see it. I believe the great divine is always moving in the proper order. And I feel like long as we're living in our righteous path with good intention, everything is gonna fall right in line.
Hey, what's
Hey,
up?
what's happening? How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I can't complain. I can't really complain. The news about Chadwick kind of got, my moods a little left this past week. He was definitely a very inspirational person, Black man in our community, in our society, and he was doing some really positive things as far as giving back to the Black colleges and things of that nature. And then hearing of his passing was kind of, it hit a little bit. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, yes indeed. Definitely rest in power to the good brother. Yeah, that was some news to receive, But I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Whether we know, don't know, whether we see some signs, whether we don't see it. I believe the great divine is always moving in the proper order. And I feel like long as we're living in our righteous path with good intention, everything is gonna fall right in line how it's supposed to. So,
Right.
make some great things come from us breaking down his legacy, some of the things he's done, breaking down some of his recent interviews and different speeches he's pushed out there. And I've seen some different health talks and everything taking place. And yeah, it just may make everything fall in line for the greater good.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, with him and this legacy that he's left behind, and then him being sick and doing all the work that he did within those 4 years was just something to stand back and admire.
Mhm.
And doing it with that type of character, because he was, showing up at the hospitals with sick children, all while he's on this journey as well, and just his essence, his energy was just always seemed humble to me. Super, super humble for somebody that's in Hollywood. And I just had to say that to pay my respects and just, say on Bliss Talk here that we really admire who Chadwick was. We see ourselves when we saw him on screen. And tonight we're going to talk about you all, because you guys do some admirable work in the community as well. 5 years, Soul Society.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, and before you came on, I was introducing who Soul Society is. You guys do youth mentor. You guys have the Heart Gallery, community empowerment, and you, Auntie Walker, and by the way, we have Brad Simmons on tonight, who's representing Soul Society. You, Auntie Walker, have really, really been out there and just, going hard for our community. And so the first topic that I wanted to kind of hash out with you tonight, you guys have the Soul Society t-shirts, and one of them is self-care. I think that self-care one is under the Heavy Energy University, but I see it posted a lot on you all's page. So I wanted us to talk a little bit about self-care, and you give us your perspective on what that means in our community.
Yeah, so there's a few different levels that we definitely got to focus on. For me, so not to get into the full breakdown of the story, but like when I was coming out of high school, going into college and, transition into adulthood, and trying to figure out what my path and purpose in life was, I didn't really know, and I didn't see any wealth of value in myself. So I went through a depression period because I didn't see any value in myself. I didn't know what I was here for, and I was just kind of going through the motions when I went into college, just trying to check off these different boxes and fulfill the American dream, get a degree, get a good job with good benefits, and all the typical boxes I was trying to check off. But as I would foresee this future I was on the path to fulfill, I mean, it was empty. It was an empty goal. It was an empty chase because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew what I was doing wasn't really it. So I had to go down the whole journey of self-discovery. You know, I had to do some soul searching. I had to figure out who I was. And one of the first big questions I had was, who am I as a Black person in America?
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a lot of what I was doing that it didn't, I don't know. I just had a lot of questions, you know, like one of my biggest questions was, who were we before we were enslaved, before we were colonized? Cause I mean, all right, so going into A&T and having an African American experience class that taught me way more about who I am and the people I come from, that allowed me to see more wealth and value in myself. Because I'm like, dang, we were more than slaves. We were more than just fighting to just be respected as a human being during the civil rights. Like, we did way more. We had some of the greatest inventions throughout our American experience. We had some of the greatest contributions to civilization throughout all experiences, throughout our African experience and history. And as I would get deeper in this path of studying my history and seeing all the that we come from, I realized that that greatness was within me as well. I think a major part of self-care is knowledge of self, studying who you are from your personal perspective, from your family perspective, to our overall history. And if we don't know who we are, then it's kind of hard to like fulfill where we're going. It's just kind of like we almost trying to fit into somebody else's reality. We almost trying to fulfill thoughts and ideas and what somebody else seeing for ourselves, which is not going to be a fulfilling self-gratification type of a path. But once you figure out who you are and just get as close to getting on course of who we are as a people is. So just in a nutshell, one of the things I found out when I went on this journey of self-discovery, and I realized that the American experience that we on has us in such a fragmented, individualistic mindset. Like, we're kind of competing against each other, competing against our own family, our own brothers and sisters, but that indigenous culture, as well as the native culture, the African before colonization culture, all these cultures represented a collective community mindset, a village mindset. And I realized that we have to get back to that village mentality where it's not just about ourselves. It's not just about self-gratification. It's about elevating our self. Of course, first and foremost, the first key to community development is personal development. If you don't get yourself together, then you can't help anyone else. So the self-care part is critical. And then on top of who you are as an individual, your family is connected to that. So you have to elevate yourself from a perspective that will elevate your family, that will elevate your community. So yeah, history, huh?
I kind of wanted to follow up with you on what you were saying about you cannot help others if you're not there, if you're not taking care of yourself. You know, I had a friend of mine who was, venting to me about, all these expenses they were having to pay for other people, or always being up late trying to take somebody somewhere else, and they were completely stressed out about it, and I would try to understand that you really care for these people, or your family members or your friends, but you cannot help them if you're not stable. Does that make sense? You kind of have to ask yourself a question before you can put yourself out there to help someone else. Like if they're asking for money, like for example, like you have to say, Bliss, do you have, like, are you okay financially, before you just hand out some of everything you got, your last to someone, and I think that really ties into self-care, because I want to be the best that I can be so that I can help others. You know, that's the purpose of being, you know, the best version of yourself and taking care of yourself. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, to add to that is like, so the first thing I did was go on the journey of figuring out who I am.
Mm-hmm.
In order to please yourself, make yourself happy, you have to really hone in on who you are and what makes you happy. What are your gifts? What are your talents? And a major thing this whole society is about creating a lifestyle doing what you love.
Mm-hmm.
You are making a living doing what you love, then you will love waking up every day. But if you're forcing yourself to do some things that you don't love, then they could be miserable. But so the proper history and analyzation of who you are as an individual, and then as you get deeper into understanding who you are as an individual, you realize certain things that add to your self-care routine, you know. So, you know, as an individual, you can't overwhelm yourself with everyone's energy all the time. Sometimes you might need to go have a spa day. You might want to go to the beach. You might want to just sit back and listen to music. Whatever that is that helps you get in a proper mindset, at ease, peaceful mindset it's major things that you got to take into consideration, you know. So what you said, people say don't pour from an empty glass. Like, you have to make sure you're in a proper environment where people are you and you are pouring yourself where you can give that energy back out.
Yeah, I wanted to provide an example for that. I'm having to balance schoolwork and going to work and Bliss Talk, and so I had to create a calendar for myself on when I'm going to make time for all of these things that are important to me, my big rocks in life, the things that I I find that mean a lot to me. You know what I mean? That's important. My priorities. You know, and so my trainer, where I'm going to the gym, he was asking me, you know, come back tomorrow. I haven't seen you in a while. You got to come back tomorrow. But that was the time I have allotted for Bliss Talk, right? And I was like, he was like, you can come after Bliss Talk. I try not to stack things on top of each other like that, because I get overwhelmed. And so even though he was pushing for that, I was like, I'll see you Wednesday. I'll see you Wednesday. You have to know how to create those boundaries for yourself. That's also a part of self-care, knowing how to say no, or standing on your own boundaries, or your own like standards for yourself, or your own time management. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the time management is a major key. So you want to organize a respectable schedule for yourself where you're not spreading yourself thin.
Yeah.
That can be one of my problems. I've got a lot better, but especially early on in the establishment of Soul, like me and T Walk, we was all over the place. I mean, schools in every city we could get into. We traveling to Charlotte for free just to go speak in the school, to build a relationship, get experience, and touch some of the youth. And I believe that was great for that chapter, but at a certain point, we had to realize, like, we kind of do have to get paid to come to this school. Like, we're doing it for the love, and we're going to continually to do it for the love, but we got to work more efficiently and more effectively rather than doing a lot of, like, I ain't going to say mediocre stuff, but we're just spreading ourselves thin, you know, so.
It's a balance. You got to have the balance.
Absolutely. And it has to make sense. So another thing we've done in the last couple of years is, like, things going outside of our way, we kind of got to get paid for at least something. Or we just can't do it. Like, we want to send that love, but at the same time, we got to make it make sense. So a major thing we've been doing is kind of drawing back from doing things outside of the community we're in and from, and putting all our focus on Greensboro. Even within Greensboro, it's like, rather than trying to be at any and all the schools, we hit up all the schools to see what school we could build a specific relationship with. So Dudley High School allowed us to come in and have actual long-term running program. So it's like, rather than being at all the schools here and there or sprinkling ourselves around, we could
Mhm.
put our full energy into one zone where we could have a maximum result. You know, so
Absolutely.
like I said, rather than spreading ourselves thin, it was and doing a little bit everywhere. It's like, where can we fully focus our time and energy and do a lot and have the most impact?
Absolutely. I love that. That makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about partnership.
Mm.
Um, so I see you guys are distributing the live alkaline, what is live alkaline,
Live,
correct?
live.
Live. Okay, live.
It's a lot.
Live alkaline water.
Yes.
And I noticed that you guys you love partnering with other local Black businesses or anybody that's in the community that's doing something along the lines of entrepreneurship of art. And so I want to get your kind of feedback as to why partnerships and collaborations is so important for Soul Society.
Right. So back to what I was saying, as far as understanding the village mentality, the village culture that we come from,
Mm-hmm.
all about partnership. It's all about everybody has a specific role for the betterment of the community.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do everything. That wouldn't make sense. You feel me? And if there's different people that have access to certain resources, somebody over here produces a certain thing, somebody over there has a special skill set, why would everybody in our community have the same skill sets?
Right.
It wouldn't really make sense. And then on top of everybody not having every skill set, being that I have what I'm good at, I understand that I will lend my strength out to somebody else, and whatever their strength is something we can exchange on.
Exchange.
So I can provide my product or my service to them, in return get whatever product or service I can get from them. And if we keep stirring that pot up amongst each other, then we all have access to everything. So
Mm-hmm.
we connected with the live alkaline water. Um, Ultimately, so me and T Walt have been talking about this. We need to secure our own resources. We need to do some survival skills programs and to be able to be independent. So I ain't gonna say we're dragging our feet, but we didn't fully force these things and manifest these things, these certain programs and connections and alliances. So when all this came down, all the water is leaving the shelves in the stores, certain essential food items we not having access to because everybody's buying everything. And it really got to a point where it's like, all right, we need to get serious about figuring out who has what. Yes, we want to get our own land, we want to grow our own food, but we're not going to do that overnight. But what we can do is go find who has what. So the first thing I started doing was started to build up a database, a network of farmers. So I don't have to depend on Walmart or Lion. Who is in the area that I can directly shop with and get some produce and groceries, vegetables and things from. So I started to just throw it out there in the universe. I asked certain people, I'm typing it, I'm posting it online. Who is a farmer? Who knows farmers? Tag them, share, this, that, and the third. And we eventually connected with a brother that has hundreds of acres. And then we come to find out he has his own water spring that his land is sitting on.
Mm.
And at first it was definitely like who would have thought? I never thought that was even something I could look for. Like, I'm just looking for food.
Mm-hmm.
And brother says he has a crystal clean alkaline water source. And I'm just like blown away by that. And at the time I was still kind of hesitant on partnering up on the business side.
Mm-hmm.
Cause it's like, all right, you selling a gallon of water for $5 to $7. Like, what is my marketing plan? How will I convince people to pay more for their water for more quality? And I'm kind of dragging my feet. And then one day I just decided, like, I'm gonna just jump out here and see what happens. And ended up going to the farmland, and I just, off the love, you know, I go out there and put work and help them however I can. So one day, they had a big order of like 2,000 gallons. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm out there and I'm helping them bottle up water. And we ended up, I mean, it was a little work, but I wasn't stressing. It was, to me, it was my workout. You feel me? So I'm just out there. They give me 20 free gallons after that. So I invested my time, my labor, my sweat equity, not even looking for nothing in return, but they gave me 20 free gallons. So, all right, bet. I can't go wrong with free water. So I take the water and I make a couple posts from my home, and next thing I know, that 20 was probably gone in like an hour, and I needed way more water. So ever since then, you know, we've been rolling ever since. But the partnerships is just major key, and that's just one example. But we have different access because of our willingness to partnership. So the one last thing I add to that is we just connected with East White Oak Community Center, and it's a community center in East Greensboro that will have access to do a lot of different programs that we've been wanting to do on a consistent basis, but now we have the ability to because of the access that we have, because of the partnership. So we'll be doing some food and nutrition, financial literacy programs there, tutoring, mentorship, artistic expression and art development, some self-defense. I mean, but these partnerships and this willingness to connect and not just be about soul society, but we're about uniting organizations, uniting individuals. So that's just that's everything. That's priceless.
This is why I love having Bliss Talks, because when you hear somebody else's journey, there's certain inspiring parts about hearing about the start of your partnership until now, because from what I'm hearing, you were actually search for a farm, somebody that, you know, had produce, right? And then you came across this guy who was selling water, right? Or had the resources for alkaline water. And so here you are now, you were on a frequency to find that, and here you are now being in partnership with that company now. And I see that they have been, it was like on the news. They were on the news with the live water.
Yeah.
So it's getting a lot of eyes and attention on it as well. It seems like they're doing really, really well. And I find that very inspiring. Let's see. The next thing I want to talk to you about is, we talked a little bit about youth mentoring, but why is that important to you guys? I think that for me, the reason why I see the value in what you guys do as far as youth mentoring is because now we are the adults, and now it's time for us to, you know, kind of pave the way for these young people coming up. But why, if you could phrase it, why is it important to you to be, you know, in these young people's lives at this time?
So on one side, we had some great examples in our, you know, growing up. Our grandfather was a major example as far as a community organizer, a businessman, mentoring the youth. And we had a strong support system amongst our family. And then the more we would get out beyond our family, especially visiting people in like college and bringing them back home to visit our family, and they would be so blown away with our family just being so tight knit and, you know, so loving and so supportive. And us, it was like we almost took it for granted because that's all we knew. It was like, what, this family, like, ain't that what it's supposed to be like? Right. And it is, but the reality is a lot of people don't have that. So what we wanted to do was extend that support system to a greater community that we had. And then beyond that, there was a lot that we didn't have that we wanted to make sure the other youth coming behind us were going to be able to have access to. So a lot of that was starting with information. So when I went to A&T, a major theme to my college experience was looking back on the miseducation that I came up in, the lack of seeing our proper history and the great figures, great historical figures, on top of there was a lot of like flat out miseducation, like glorifying Columbus and that genocide and all those things. Like it was a lot of miseducation that I realized. And then I had a sociology class that taught about like the societal structures, government structures. And all through college, I'm just getting all these awakenings and epiphanies. Like this whole thing is a setup. And what I realized is that I can't just, go through my own personal awakening. I can't just save myself. It's a lot of other people that are going to have similar experiences. And I just realized I had to, I had to give back. And I had to, everybody doesn't have to take the long route. Everybody doesn't have to have the same mistakes or the same miseducation that I had. Why would I sit back and watch this cycle just continue when I can provide everything I learned for, say I learned it at 20, 25 years old, I can give to a youth at 5, 10, 15 years old. So why not put them on a faster track? So it was ultimately that was it. And then the other thing was some different unjust, not police brutality, but just some different run-ins with the law that was like awakening to know like, dang, like we in the whole Obama era. I graduated high school in 2009 and we in the whole Obama era, and I'm literally experiencing police hunting black men. Like I got followed by cops all throughout high school. My boy had an old school Caddy, which was a profile car. So we would get followed by cops all the time. I mean, there was so many different cases of being followed by cops and them, first off, not speeding, but them saying this is a speeding violation. Can we search your car? What? What are you talking about?
Right.
So through these situations, I realized like they're literally out here hunting us still, and I gotta provide for some of the ones that may get into something they're innocent, or even ones that's guilty, because at the same time, where it's like different crime rates or all these numbers or all these black men that are getting, just for example, a drug violation. We know the white boys in the same high school we going to got all the drugs. We know the more richer neighborhoods that all the drugs are in there. So if there was police sitting outside their neighborhood on hunt mode, running you down as soon as you come in and out, they will have numbers way worse than ours in the reality. But I understood that this is a setup, and I have to play my part in this setup to save as many as I can, or the ones that do get into different, make different mistakes or get into different trouble. I realized that a couple charges that I had for marijuana that I didn't even know was there changed my whole life around, and it put me in a position where I couldn't really get a job. You feel me? And I had to become an entrepreneur. Like I didn't even see this for myself, and it was forced on me. But it ended up being a blessing in disguise because I learned how to create opportunities. I learned how to make something out of nothing. So now I have the ability to help other people get opportunities, or to learn how, or to help them learn how they can create opportunities for themselves. So
I think that
started out me thinking like it was over, but over time I found out how to get out of these holes, and I wanted to help other people either not get in the hole or help them be able to get out of these holes.
Absolutely. I think it's very important that we have our own in these schools, and actually talking about our experiences, just can get an understanding, like we understand, you know, but then also give them the knowledge that, you know, we happen to run into on our journey as well. There's a lot of things that I wish I would have known as a kid. You know, I wish I would have known a little bit more about finances, real estate, you know, how to grow my own investments. You know what I mean? I wish I would have known all that stuff. I wish I would have known a little bit more about economics, how the, you know, how the earth works, you know what I mean? Just, you know, basic human being stuff. And
Nah,
sometimes it's because, you know, if you're coming up on a certain income, or your parents or your family are coming up on a certain income, they're working all the time. So where are you getting all your knowledge from? From school, you know what I mean? Or from those teachers who have no idea what your, you know, what your culture is like or what you're going through at home. So they can't really connect, you know? So I think it's important that we have people in those schools that connect, or we have the soul society in the school. So we have someone to connect to. Would you agree?
absolutely. I mean, ultimately, I mean, the financial piece is major key, because it's like
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like we're in a capitalist society and we're not getting a thorough education on finance and on the economy. Like that is completely crazy. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, we learn a lot about credit by trying to repair our credit. Like credit be messed up by the time you even know
Straight
what
up.
it is. And it's like, why would we continue these cycles? It just doesn't make sense. And it's like, I went through a period of complaining. The government needs to do this. The school system needs to do that. The church needs to do this. And I was pointing fingers at everybody else that needs to do whatever I felt like they needed to do. But it got to a point where I had to look at myself, like, what can I do? I have
Absolutely.
to do whatever I can do, because I can only control myself. So I will promote and try to get other people involved, but ultimately I can only control myself. So
Absolutely.
I'm charging myself responsible to make the.
Michael Eric Dyson, he said something that really spoke to me. He said that he was an advocate for serious Black intelligence.
Mm,
And then he also said that these people will use the knowledge that they have against you,
mm,
right? So if you don't know, if you're not knowledgeable, knowledge is wealth. You know what I mean? And that's how they can get over with doing what they do over and over and over again, you know, by oppressing us, you know? And so, yeah, education is really important. And then having likeness in front of us as well to inspire us is key as well. And I think you guys are definitely doing that with Soul Society. Two kings standing in their purpose and giving off whatever information you can to the youth.
yeah.
Um,
I just to add to that is like the relatability, seeing someone that looks like you, or looks like your brother or your father, or the father you wish you had, is important. You
yeah,
know, because there could be a teacher saying the same thing that we say, and it might be received differently, because our ability to relate, our ability to speak your language, and all that is critical. Like, I'm trying to think, I don't recall having any Black teachers like that, period. I had one English teacher, one lady, and I had one gym teacher throughout my whole grade school.
mm-hmm.
So I had them, but I didn't have no males, no Black males. And every school we go to this day, or every community event, it's always like, we need y'all. Where y'all at? Where the Black men, especially the young Black men? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
we never see y'all in the school. Like, oh my God, it's like they found a piece of gold. Like, and that, like, it's crazy, because me and T Walk, we went all the way to Portland, Oregon, on the other side of the United States, and we going into different communities and different youth groups, and they're saying the same thing. I'm like, dang, across the whole nation,
Mm-hmm.
wherever we go, it's like, oh my God, we love to see y'all. We on Where y'all at? We need more of y'all. And it's like, dang, you know. So I mean, it is hard. Like, to be honest, like the sisters Y'all be on deck. Y'all be on the front line, the back line. Y'all be at all the community gatherings and events. And it'd be kind of hard to find some solid brothers that's in the mix. We be finding ourselves, either it's a bunch of elders and we the youngest ones in the room, or it's like me, T-Walk, and one or two other men. Like, we do need more of us involved, but a major thing that I say, what Frederick Douglass say, it's hard to heal, or it's hard to fix broken men and easier to raise the children up. I messed that quote all the way up, but ultimately, a lot of adults get stuck in their ways. So a lot of my focus is on the youth, while they're still impressionable, while they're still open-minded. And we want to produce a greater generation, ultimately.
Yes. And I wanted to say this, I know that our culture has been the type of culture that says move in silence, don't tell anybody what you're doing, because they're going to steal it, or they're going to become jealous of it, things of that nature. And I felt like that's kind of where, growing up, I feel like that was a failure in my village, you know what I mean? Because they moved in so much silence. We didn't know about finances. We didn't know about credit. We didn't know about history, you know what I mean? And so I think it's important that we actually communicate and talk to each other and help each other with our goals. Would you agree?
Absolutely. No, that's a major key. Oh man, I could go on and on, but I feel like there's so much, like, we got a lot of issues. We got a lot of healing that has to take place. But yeah, there's a lot of like competition against each other, which I feel like can be our demise a lot of times. Like, just one example I'll share to put it into a type of perspective is, like, for example, if it's 20 people selling hair, I wouldn't say they have to compete, and I wouldn't even say somebody should not sell hair. Like, the thing is, if there's 20 of us selling hair and we all buying 10 bundles a week, why wouldn't we all put our money together and get a bigger bulk and bring down the unit price for everybody? But we're so in competition that this person finds the best quality hair for the best price. They don't want nobody to know about it. So they just going to keep buying their little 10 bundles at a time, when they could bring the hair community together and buy big bundles and build up warehouses. And it's just like we kind of can be our own worst enemy sometimes, because we're, for some reason, in competition with each other, when we really could pull our resources, our minds, our money. We could pull everything together and we will all rise together. But that crab in the bucket mentality it can be a real thing, But somebody said we should have never been in a bucket anyway. So you got to attack that conversation from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing before we go. Can you give us one or two keys or concepts that you want to leave with the people tonight?
My main key that is a lot is connected to just overall knowledge of self. So I feel like we really have to get serious about meditating. We got to get serious about sitting with ourselves, getting in nature, and putting our phone and devices down sometimes, and really just going within to pull out that greatness that is within all of us. But sometimes we get so caught up in distractions, we never sit with ourselves. Even in our free time, our alone time, we on our phone the whole time, which is really, in reality, your mind is still being distracted and occupied with other people's thoughts, other people's lives. We have to spend more time getting away from that, turning that off, and going within to figure out what is our life. What life are we living? What is our history? What got us in our present moment? And ultimately, what do we need to really do to elevate ourselves and produce the lifestyle that we want to live. So I think that's a major key. And then the last thing I say is figuring out, like, I think we just got to study like success in a way. So it's like, if you want to be, so this is a great example dealing with young black men. A lot of young black men that want to be athletes. And I'm never one to say you can't be an athlete, but I'm like, what blueprint are you following? Like, who are some of the most successful, most influential figures in that field? Okay, so now that you recognize whoever inspires you, you like LeBron James, you like Steph Curry. What was their process to get to where they are?
Right.
If you don't know and you just randomly thinking you're going to make it to the NBA, come on, now we got to be real about this thing. Like, but if you apply yourself the way they did, you're working out 2 times a day, shooting 1,000 jump shots to work on your shot, doing dribble. Yeah, if you pick up their blueprint, then more than likely you're going to get to where they're at, or at least close. So whatever field we want to be in, I feel like we all have our own unique purpose, our own specific unique path that we're on. But at the same time, there's a lot of masters in the different fields that we want to be in that we should study. Like, what was their plan? What was their process? How did they get where they got? And figure out what we can extract from their process, from their journey. Like, a lot of times we focus on the results. We focus on the end goal. Like, we want to build an Amazon. And it's like we're thinking about starting with the $1 trillion business. But no, you have to build $1,000 business first. So we can't skip the steps. We got to embrace the process and build blueprints, build plans that we will, guide ourselves by.
You cannot skip the steps. You have to build.
One at a time, one step at a time. Like, set the end goal, set your big long-term goal, but you have to chop that thing up into small steps, short-term goals. So don't just be out here moving off hope and guessing and hoping something sticks. Like, and the last part to that is, like, I feel like the more I study, the more time I can trim off of certain things. And I've also wasted time doing certain things. So when they say don't reinvent the wheel, like, why would you spend your lifetime trying to build a wheel from scratch when you could look up the design and the blueprint and build the wheel tomorrow? So yeah, pick up a blueprint, pick up a somebody's plan and process, and figure out how you can pull some of that and apply that to your personal journey.
That's a lot of how things become a success, actually. I had a friend who was in chemistry, and he built his thesis, and he ended it at a certain point, but somebody else will go back and look at that thesis and build upon that. That's how this works. This is how we come up with advancements, or innovation, period.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, I was reading this book, Know Thyself, by Brother Naeem Akbar, and he talks about just the concept of education. And a major part of education is preserving our history, preserving those who came before us, so we don't spend our lifetime doing the same thing. We can spend our lifetime taking what they did to the next level. So we can keep building on top of each other rather than being so caught up in our own journey that we don't take the time out to study what happened before us. So yeah, we have to be a student of whatever our lanes are, whatever our positions, whatever our passion is.
Yes, student. I loved it. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Brad.
Yes,
this is a dope conversation. Congratulations on all the success that Soul Society has right now.
Yes,
and
indeed.
just thank you for being mentors in our community. We really, really need you, and just keep going.
Absolutely.
So before we close out, if anybody in Bliss Talk tonight would like to ask Brad a question, please go ahead and type it in if you have a question you would like to ask him before we get out of here. This is Bliss Talk. You guys can follow me at cbliss_pics. I have all of season 1 Bliss Talks on my IGTV and also on YouTube. So be sure to go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Bliss Talk Show. Also, you can visit the website, www.blisstalkshow.life. And I have, the origins of Bliss Talk. You'll see my very, very first episodes that I had before the quarantine. Mm-hmm. So be sure you check it out. I love to have inspiring conversations with people right here in the community that have taken steps and have gotten so far by staying consistent. So while we are waiting for people to type in a question, would you let us know how we can support you?
Yeah, so different ways of support. So you can buy some live alkaline water, elevate your mind, body, and soul, with the proper water. And in a nutshell, for those who don't know what alkaline water is, in layman's terms, I tell people that's kind of based on the pH scale, and you can have neutral water, but for the most part, you either on the acidic side or you're on the alkaline side. So you need alkaline water, you need alkaline food, and all that. What else? We got skincare products, whip shake body butter. We got the RBG flag, representing our power, our pride, and our love for ourselves. Other than that, just follow us at Soul Society NC. Definitely subscribe to our YouTube at Soul Society NC. We got some powerful interviews, some powerful people we've connected with up there, from KRS-One, David Banner, to Sonny Patterson, Professor Dr. Kaba Kamini. We got a few other ones up there, Wise Intelligence, M1, Mumu Fresh. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube. We got some powerful interviews and connections up there. And other than that, just link in, tap in with us. We looking to always connect with entrepreneurs, educators, agricultural people, botanists, whatever, you name it, artists, what else? And people in health and wellness, I'll just leave it at that. So just connect with us, follow us, and let's build.
Absolutely. Well, I don't see any questions, so.
Well, I appreciate you joining in. Miss Chandra Botanicals. That's crazy. I just talked about botany. I'm going to have to holler at you, huh? I think that's the same difference, right? Botanicals is like flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
But so I greatly appreciate you tapping in. I appreciate all y'all tapping in. I appreciate you having me. And I'm looking for more greatness, more building to come, more great conversations.
Thank you so much. Once again, this has been a dope conversation. And y'all have a good night.
Yes, indeed. All right. One love.